Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It has been a long time since I've done a long form video here on YouTube, and today I have a Q&A about all things PA school, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I had you guys submit all of your questions through my Instagram, so I'm gonna go through them one by one in no particular order, and I will not be holding back. Just a little background on me in case you don't know. I'm a board certified physician assistant. I graduated in March of last year. My first job out of PA school was in my dream specialty of aesthetic medicine. I'm also a content creator. I've been doing that for the past 5 years. I created a bunch of videos on my TikTok, a day in my life as a PA student and a day in my life as a PA. And without further ado, we're gonna get started. If my camera keeps going in and out of focus, I'm so sorry. It's my first time recording on this camera for YouTube, so I don't know what's going on. First question, does it matter where you go to PA school when it comes to hiring? In my particular experience, no. I also think that this is the case for all of my other friends in PA school. Everyone passes the same board exam at the end of the day, and all that matters is that you are a board certified PA. Best advice for future PA students and how to prepare/calm nerves. Preparedness and calming nerves is kind of difficult because obviously PA school is new territory and it's hard. However, I feel like I would have benefited from what I'm about to say so much before PA school. The information you're given is not hard. It is not difficult. It is not like your biochemistry classes. It is not like your organic chemistry classes. You're not going to be sitting there doing word problems or figuring out equations for the most part. It's the amount of information given at once that makes it difficult. It's learning how to balance a ton of different classes with a bunch of different information, and how you divide and conquer is the hardest part. The time management, the sleepless nights, waking up early, going to class every day. That is what makes PA school difficult. Not exactly the information that you are given for PA school, but the amount of it that's given at once. I remember before I went to PA school, I literally thought I was gonna fail out, and I really have never been a great test taker at all. However, with that being said, I graduated honors and at the top of my class, so if I can do it, I promise that you can do it too. How far out from graduation did you start applying to jobs? I started applying to jobs the month I graduated. I know a lot of people in my class were applying like months and months out. I feel like it's totally a personal decision whether, you want to do that or not. Would you do PA school all over again? That's a loaded question. I remember being in PA school and my friends and I were always like, if someone took this away, if they took our progress away, we'd never do this again, just because it was so difficult and it literally just takes over your whole life. However, with that being said, now that I'm a PA, I have a degree that no one can take away from me. I will always have a job. I'm always going to be a PA. That in itself, that I have to fall back on no matter what, is what makes it worth it. It's easy when you're in like the thick of it to be like, oh, I would never do this again, and you're probably going to think that way, but when everything is said and done and you're looking back, it was worth it. As an aesthetic/dermatology PA, what is your work schedule like? My case and my job is kind of different in a couple different ways. First of all, I have another job. I create content and I have an income from that. Second of all, I was hired as a full-time PA for my aesthetic medicine position. However, me and other injectors at the practice, our hours were cut shortly after I was hired. Content creation is my main form of income. So when my hours were cut as an injector, I was totally fine. I ended up working at my practice 2 days a week before they closed its doors and let go of all of the employees. Starting PA school on Friday, any tips on school, studying, or making friends? First of all, congratulations. Getting into PA school is a huge accomplishment in itself. I feel like this question is gonna answer a lot of the other questions, so I'm gonna break it up into a couple parts. Tips on school. I would say you're going to be spending a lot of your time at school, so make sure that you're comfortable. Wear comfortable business casual clothes if that's your dress code, or if it's scrubs, wear comfortable scrubs. If your classroom is very cold like ours was, bring a heating pad. That's what I did. More days than not, I would take my lunch into my car and have a decompression session in the car just to get away from everything for a little bit. Make yourself comfortable. Now, studying. Advice on studying is difficult because everyone studies differently. So I'm going to give a simple overview about how I studied and what worked for me personally. During class, I had my laptop and I had my iPad. I would have all the lectures downloaded onto my iPad. I would have my laptop up during class and I would be making an outline. Every class about important things the professor emphasized. If there were certain definitions or pictures that were important, I would put that in my outline. I always took advantage of the time I was sitting in class to make my life easier later on when I got home. My friends and I in PA school divided and conquered everything. So if one of us was making an outline, another one of us was making a Quizlet, another one of us was doing something else, and then we all shared at the end of the day. That way, when you go to start studying for the exam in that class, you already have an outline including information that was emphasized in class, important things that you need to know. You have a Quizlet for repetition. And when it comes to Quizlets, I would do those for repetition. So at the end of the night while I'm laying in bed, I would just flip through the Quizlet and test my knowledge. Same thing for right before the exam. If I needed something quick, I would just flip through Quizlet to make sure that I was hitting all the high points. Depending on what class it was and the material being taught, I usually started studying a week out for my exams. So when I started to study, I would pull up the outline that me or my friends made. I'd pull up the lecture and I would go down and I'd cross-reference them looking at the high points. I always kept a running document of hard to remember topics. So say I was doing practice questions and I kept getting the same thing wrong, I'd pull up my hard to remembers document and I would type about that topic in the document so that before the exam comes around, I can review my hard to remembers the morning before my exam. Having a whiteboard was also really important to me because I would write things down on the whiteboard, erase it, and then write again for repetition. For example, the cranial nerves in anatomy class, I would write them, erase them, write them again, erase them, write them again until I literally knew them. Also, if your school does not purchase Rosh Review or UWorld for you, I would recommend looking into those and purchasing them, especially Rosh Review. They give such a beautiful breakdown of everything at the end of each question. It is amazing. And then for me personally, on exam mornings, I always woke up a couple hours before I had to leave. I was always waking up between 4 and 5 a.m. to read over everything, review everything in my outlines, and study before I got to school that day. That's just what worked for me. I felt fresh and sharp by the time I was sitting there taking my exam. I had seen all the information that morning. It's just what worked. It made my life and my tests so much easier. Another thing I will say about my study habits, I was super disciplined on the weekends. I'd wake up around 5 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday. I would sit at my desk until 12 or 1 p.m. That gives me 7 or 8 hours of studying during that day. Then the rest of the day I would have to do things that I wanted, whether that was going to brunch or doing housework or watching a show. I really learned to maximize my days and maximize my time in PA school by waking up early. That's not going to work for everyone, but for me personally, I preferred utilizing my weekends to study rather than coming home from class during the week at 7 p.m. and staying up until midnight to study. That's just what worked for me. Okay, now getting to the friends part of that question. I personally would have never survived PA school had it not been for my friends. Like I said, we divide and conquered everything together. We studied together, we broke up work together, we broke up assignments together. The thing about making friends in PA school is everybody is trying to make friends. Everyone wants to share this experience with someone who understands. Everyone wants to have someone to ask questions to. Everyone wants to have someone to explain things to them. So just be nice to everyone. Put yourself out there. If you see someone that you think you'll connect with, be like, hey, can we switch numbers and maybe be study partners? Ask if they want to go to a coffee shop and study with you one day. Ask if they want your outlines. Ask if they want your Quizlets. PA school is not the place to be greedy. Share everything. PA school is so difficult already, so make your relationships with the people in your class the easy part. You want to feel like you have people to depend on and ask questions to, so be that person yourself and always help. Because what comes around goes around, and PA school is just hard enough already. What are the easiest and hardest changes you faced going from PAS to PAC? In terms of the easiest changes I've gone through, I feel like just having a good rapport with your patients. My program did a lot of OSCE simulations where we had to do exams and diagnose medical actors and do all of these presentations and all these things. So I feel like my program did a really good job at preparing us to be face-to-face with a patient and talk to them. I feel like the hardest parts are more specific to the specialty I chose. Aesthetic medicine is very difficult, and I feel like it's really not talked about enough, and I could do a whole video, honestly, on the challenges that I've faced being in aesthetics. It's very salesy, it can be very catty, and the patients can be a lot. So I would say most of the challenges that I've faced have just been because I chose aesthetics as my specialty. Someone asked a question about paying down student loans. So I took out student loans for PA school, and one piece of advice that I do have is if you don't use all of the money you took out at the end of that term, pay it back on your student loan portal. That way it obviously decreases the total amount that you're taking out, the interest that you're accruing, and all of that. It can just be a mess. That's what I did, and it definitely helped. I was so fortunate in PA school to also be making money through content creation. Obviously, you cannot have another job in PA school. However, I was still able to create content on the side. I never gave up. Yes, it was very hard. Yes, I wanted to give up, but I didn't. And I was able to pay off tens of thousands of my student loans while I was still in PA school because of that. So that obviously helped me a lot. And now I'm obviously paying off my loans post-grad. I'm paying twice a month depending on how much money I made that month. I am paying off a lot more than the suggested amount by my loan portal because I just want to pay off the loans. I don't want them following me around for a long time. Do you think it's possible to be a mom in PA school? Absolutely. We had a mom in our class during PA school. I do think you guys face a whole other different set of challenges than everyone else in class, and it obviously is going to be way harder for you than it is for everyone else because you have a child at home. But is it possible? Yes. How did you get patient care hours, and what do you recommend to do to gain hours fast? I gained my patient care hours through being a medical assistant. I was certified, so I took a course and I got my certification. I was able to get an internship through that course at a primary care clinic. So I gained a lot of hours through primary care. After I graduated, I moved to South Florida and I got a job working in urgent care during the COVID pandemic. That job alone helped me so much in PA school because you learn so much in urgent care. With that being said, about a year after working urgent care, I went PRN and started working at a dermatology clinic, and I fell in love with derm. That was another thing that helped me through PA school too, because dermatology is like learning a different language. So if you can, I definitely recommend getting patient care hours in something like urgent care or even derm, because both of those will help you in the long run. I definitely recommend being a medical assistant for your patient care hours. However, you do not need a certification. If you don't want to get your certification, you can still apply and see if they'll offer on-the-job training for you. But I feel like that's the easiest way. If you just go online and apply to a bunch of medical assistant jobs and ask if they offer on-the-job training. PA school interview advice. I know this is going to sound cliche, but just be yourself. Don't sound too scripted. Don't memorize a bunch of answers. Just be yourself. I 100% recommend purchasing the book. It's called Physician Assistant Interview Guide, I think. I'll put a picture of it right here on the screen. It's by Savannah Perry, and it goes through all the different interview styles and questions associated with those interview styles. What I did personally, I read that book, and for every example question that it gave, I would answer it myself. Another huge piece of advice that I can give for PA school interviews is when you're practicing, record yourself. There are certain questions that you just need to have down pat for your interview. For example, tell me about yourself. Set up your phone, record yourself answering the question. Watch it back and hear how you sound. Look at your mannerisms. Look at how you're talking. Are you saying like too much? Are you saying too much? Are you saying something weird that you didn't catch that you said? And I know it feels funny, but just do it. Another piece of advice for interview questions is if they ask you about a patient preference when it comes to treatment or something, at the end of the day, it is always the patient's decision. If the patient does not want the treatment, they do not receive the treatment. If the patient does not want the blood transfusion, they do not receive the blood transfusion, even if it could save their life. Your job as a medical provider is to explain risks, benefits, and obtain informed consent. At the end of the day, what the patient says goes. Also have answers to questions like, why did you choose PA? Why PA not MP? Why PA not MD? If you weren't in aesthetic medicine, what would have been your second choice specialty? Definitely either dermatology or plastic surgery. I did 2 plastic surgery rotations and was absolutely obsessed with it. I just love everything about plastic surgery. Like I said, I worked in dermatology before PA school and absolutely fell in love with it. I genuinely loved going to work every day. Personal statements and GRE prep, please. For GRE prep, I used Magoosh. It offered practice exams and a breakdown of like different modules and stuff. So I would recommend that unless there's a better thing that has come out since then. For your personal statement, I definitely recommend you submitting it somewhere and having it proofread. I personally paid to have the PA platform edit my personal statement for me. I 100% recommend it if you're in the position to pay for that and get that service. Last question, advice for a pre-PA applying this cycle. Number 1, apply early. Most schools do rolling admissions and you want to be one of the first applications that these people are reviewing. I also found that there's like an AI question box that you can use on the PA platform. to ask general questions. I'll put it in the description box and you can ask it all sorts of questions about applying and about PAs and about whatever. I would have loved to have this feature when I was applying to PA school because I feel like I had so many questions and I did not know how to get them answered. One thing I do suggest you asking it is what parts of my CASPA application can I do early so that once CASPA opens, you already have certain sections filled out. Some sections won't roll over, some will. I know that PA school is getting harder and harder to get into every year, but just give it your all, you're gonna be fine. And that is it. I hope I answered all of your questions. If I didn't, you can go ahead and leave them below and I will try to comment back and get to you as soon as possible. If you have made it this far, thank you so much. Please like and subscribe because I'm gonna try to be posting more long form videos on YouTube this year. So let me know what you wanna see. And if you wanna be a PA, you can do it. Bye.